Hi, I'm Tong Lian, and a very good morning to Madam Faiza, Madam Salma, and Dr. Irfan. So, today I'll be presenting on my case study entitled Primary School Pupils English Learning Performance. So, let's get started with the background of the study. So, second language learners' performance is believed to be influenced by many internal and external factors. So, motivation is seen as a factor that cannot be denied in learning second language. There are many challenges related to English performance due to motivation and became issues in teaching and learning English. So there are four issues that I would like to highlight here. So the first one, Hugh pointed out that majority of the Malaysian students are not proficient in English. And then the second issue, in Bangladesh, Aisha found out that the achievement of 100 secondary learners was not satisfactory during the final exam. And in Pakistan, majority of the students are not capable in 4 language skills, even after spending 14 to 16 years. Okay, and he suggested that the pupils' motivation as the major internal factor that contribute to the poor performance. And meanwhile, in Vietnam, English language teaching has not met the expected mastery level of English, in which the English teachers are not disqualified, and because they have low language proficiency and do not communicate in English when teaching. So, this study is intended to analyze further about the key factors in motivation that contribute to the primary school pupils' English learning performance. So, moving on to the statement of problem. So, I will start with the Malaysia English language level. And also, I will move to the internal and external factors. Okay, that some of the researchers highlighted in their study. So in Malaysia, as we all know, some students still cannot use and speak the English language at satisfactory level. So in the study of Normazida, Ko and Hazita, 2012, they revealed that the external factors that actually influence the English level performance in Malaysia, there are two, which is the interference of mother tongue and also the overemphasis on grammatical rules. So these are the external factors. And for the internal factors, by the study of Nazifullah, Hamza, and etc., who study on the internal factors found out that there are 4 main internal factors that influence the pupil's speaking performance, which are the anxiety, shyness, confidence, and motivation. So there are 4. So there, as we can see, there are many types of research that has been conducted to study on the motivation that affects the pupil's English performance in different contexts. But there is no similar research conducted in the context of Malaysian primary school. So this study aims to fill in this gap knowledge. Okay, moving on to the purpose of study. To study, okay, my purpose of this study is that to study the internal factors, which are the key factors in motivation among the English learners. And number 2, to study the effect of motivation on pupils' English subject performance in Malaysia's primary school setting. So now means that I will study on the internal factors in which is the motivation and the key factors in motivation and how they influence the performance, English performance among the students. So moving on to the research objective. Research objective. Okay, to examine the key factors in motivation that influence the pupil's learning performance in English and to find out to what extent the key factors in motivation influence the pupil's learning performance in English. Okay, so the research question. What are the key factors in motivation that influence the pupil's performance in English in learning English, and to find out to what extent have the key factors in motivation influence the pupils' learning performance in English in primary school. Okay, so that is my research question. So moving on to the next slide, which is the significance of the research. So my research, there are three significant, which is for the parents, pupils, and also teachers. So for parents, the findings will provide the parents with guidelines to make them aware of their role so that they can guide their children. So they will give motivation support to their children in order to have a positive impact on their children's performance. And for pupils themselves or him or herself, they will have awareness and motivation to improve their performance. And for teachers, teacher will improve their teaching and learning strategies in order to arouse the pupils' interest that contribute to their performance in English, and also provide the teachers with information related to the motivation in order to help the pupils gain motivation to learn English. So this study would focus on motivation that contribute to Malaysian primary school pupils' performance. So for the past researchers, I will focus on four aspects. The first one is the anxiety. So Arabai revealed that anxiety caused slow in achievement in English among the Saudi learners when he studied on the level of anxiety on achievement. And Muhammad Jalani, who studied on the effects of communicative approach in teaching speaking skill, he revealed that most of the UTM students experience a moderate level of anxiety when communicating in English due to their nervousness. And Cow and Craigie asserted that highly anxious learners tended to have lower ability than less anxious learners. So we can conclude that anxiety can cause low achievement, and some of the factor is that they're because of their nervousness, okay, and because of their nervousness, they will lead to low ability, okay. So moving on to the second aspect, which is the attitude. So Shanti findings also discovered the learner's positive attitude is the key factor. So positive attitude is the key factor that can improve the learning performance. And then Nissan and Alexander elaborated, although learners show positive or negative attitude, it will not affect their English performance. So this is what we want to see, whether attitude really influence the performance or not. And moving on to the third aspect, which is the interest. Maruf and Malani, who study on the students' interest in learning English, he claimed that interest affects learners' motivation in practicing a positive attitude in learning English. So meaning that if when they have positive attitude, they will have a better motivation. So this is the characteristic of the interested learners, where they're always interested to engage actively in everything, especially in learning, okay, that they will get involved behaviorally. And for the third aspect, I would like to highlight here is the confidence. So Sari, in her study that she studied on the relationship of confidence and the motivation, found out that confidence is affected by previous experience, and this experience become guidance in building the learner's confidence in order to achieve their goals. And Molbert added that learners who fear of negative feedback will have a lower self-confidence, because when they think they have this negative mindset, they will tend to not really voice out their opinion. So this is what that will cause them to have low self-confidence. Okay, moving on to the research design. So this is the case study design. I choose. Sorry, there are four selected participants who scored D, and then I use this case study to investigate and understand complex issues in motivation and its effects on learning performance in depth. So I carried out this research for 3 months, and I collected all the data, I interpreted and reported the data, and triangulate all the data to achieve reliability and validity. And so my population, the population and the sample of this study, population, so is the pupils in that SK Sunshine. So my sample is that I chose 4 out of 33 pupils from 1 year 4 class. So I use the purposive sampling to choose them according to their, based on their result, exam result. So there are 2 boys and 2 girls as my participants. So the instruments for data collection that I've used, number 1 is the observation checklist. The checklist consists, checklist is adapted from Humaira Amin's, and it just surveys questionnaires item. Okay, my checklist consisted of 5 columns to show the frequency of the behavior. I'll tick the behavior shown by the pupils, and then I wrote down the remarks as a field notes, and then for the worksheet, I use worksheet to only observe and analyze the participant interest and also attitude. Okay, not confidence and anxiety. And the worksheet sometimes require the pupils, the participants to write grammar rules, construct simple sentences, write down the meaning. Okay, and for my interview, I asked them 10 questions, and the interview session took about 5 to 10 minutes. And the interviews were audio recorded and notes were taken. So for my research procedure, first, I showed the letters of permission and submit the proposal to the school headmaster. I started to choose participants by using purposive sampling. And then the selected participant were given letter of permission. And the checklist I adapted from the service item. And then the interview question validated by the expert. After that, only I conducted interviews, did the observation, and analyzed the worksheets. And finally, I triangulated all the data and made conclusion of the findings. So for my data collection procedure, first, I start with, so before that, I would like to inform that I'm the researcher and I'm also the observer who participate and engage actively in the classroom to collect data by writing down the remarks as field notes in my observation checklist. And then I gave the worksheet to the participants in every lesson, and I will check the worksheet, and I made a copy of their work and collected their result. Okay, and then I conducted interview session with the participant, and the interview session were conducted in Malay language. Okay, because of their low proficiency in English. And all the collected data finally were recorded for analysis and interpretation. And for data analysis procedure, the researcher used the technique of triangulation to analyze the data from various standpoints. And then the data collected was analyzed qualitatively in order to find out the key factors in motivation that influence the participant performance. And then the third step is for the observation method, I mark, and then the interview, the content analysis is used to determine the codes and themes from the transcription. And for the comment analysis method, I analyze their interest and attitude, and then I label the behavior that shown in the worksheet. And the researcher finally documented and elaborated the findings in chapter 4. So this is my conceptual framework. As you can see, under motivation, there are four aspects of 4 factors. So this is what we call as key factors in motivation. So this is what influence the motivation and how all these key factors give impact to the English learning performance. Okay, let's look at the data findings. So for the data findings, I found out 4 themes. The first one is English anxiety. Second one is linguistic self-confidence. Third one is interest in English language. And fourth one is attitude in learning English. So my finding is I found out that pupils with low motivation were more likely to have high level of anxiety, negative learning attitude, low interest in English language, and also low linguistic self-confidence. So these are the characteristics of pupils who have low motivation. Okay, and then moving on. So I try to relate their level of motivation and their performance in order to find out the relationship, whether the key factors really impact or give effects to the performance. So I used the triangulation analysis and I found out all the key factors indeed contributed to the pupils' learning performance. So due to their low level motivation level, the pupils failed to score high performance in English examination. So this is what I found. And the discussion. So the prominent key factors in motivation are anxiety, attitude, self-confidence, and interest. So all the key factors are correlated with each other, means that they are influenced by each other. Okay. And finally, they also contributed a huge impact to the learning performance. So the findings from all instruments revealed that the 4 participants, lack of interest, low self-confidence, and high anxiety. So this is what that prevent them to improve their English level. So conclusion, all the participants were afraid, all the participants were afraid to use English to communicate during the lesson. And so this will make them gradually lack motivation to improve their English language. So they have high level of anxiety that make them refuse and receive the information. That leads to poor performance. And then for the confidence, some of them still lack of confidence, did not show positive attitude in taking risks to practice the language, even in group. And for interest, all the participants portray inconsistent interest, meaning sometimes they are interested, sometimes no, and especially they are not interested, especially in English writing. So this lead to low performance English, especially in writing. So most of the participants portray quite good motivation level by showing positive attitude. Okay, so as a result, it gave positive impact to the participant English performance, which helped them to maintain the performance. So this is one of the aspects that they show some positive view or positive result, which is the attitude. And so my suggestion is that teacher must create threat-free environment. Okay, teacher must carry out the formative assessment give freedom for the pupils to choose, and pupils in school should take responsibility for their own learning. They should evaluate their own performance by doing self-assessment to reflect on their strengths and weaknesses. And then pupils should set positive mindset. For the implications, schools and teachers. So school leaders have to encourage the teachers to take risks and embracing the new ideas. School leaders have to provide frequent and consistent feedback. And for teacher educators, have to emphasize on the importance of motivation to the training teachers, and also have to need to help the training teachers to feel in control of the materials to be taught, so that the pupils will be motivated to learn, okay, when the training teachers are teaching them. And then the pupils must understand the needs to have intrinsic and extrinsic motivation to try to overcome all the factors, and pupils should have progress to improve their English learning performance. So I think that's all for today. Thank you.